We're here at London's Docklands for Xerocon 2018, and I'm delighted to be joined by Xero's UK and EMA MD, Gary Turner, fresh from his keynote speech. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
Great to be here, Tom. Welcome to Xerocon again.
Thank you, yeah. So, in true sort of Steve Jobs fashion, you left a big announcement to the end of your speech. Can you tell us a bit more about Xero's ambitions in terms of income tax, corporation tax and accounts production?
Yeah, well, thank you for the comparison with Steve Jobs. Very flattering. I'm not quite sure I was as good as he ever was, but so we announced a few things today. We announced our bank feeds API and a number of new banks that we're partnering with in the UK, such as Starling and Tide, and the work we're doing with TransferWise and Sodo, and a whole bunch of others we'll be covering over the next couple of days. We also told people that we had just completed an acquisition yesterday. So there's this startup business that's been building a product in a space that we have thus far not occupied, which is corporation tax, statutory accounts filing, and income tax. And we've been working and giving some technical guidance to this team over the last few months over the summer, and the more time we spent with them, the more impressed we were with their vision and the work that they had done in integrating their tax and compliance tools really deeply inside of Xero. And the longer we spent with them, the more obvious it was that perhaps we should not just support them, but they should join the family. And so we welcomed them to the company yesterday. We have acquired the business and brought the team across. And obviously they've been building a product, and so we actually have something that's almost ready to go as well. And so we're very pleased to announce that at long last we've finally moved into the final areas of compliance that we haven't addressed yet.
Fantastic, and it got a great reaction from the audience of sort of 3,000 accountants who've made their way down to the Excel this year. In terms of the compliance play, obviously it's kind of similar to what Intuit were talking about at QuickBooks Connect last week. Does Xero have the expertise and resources to compete with that?
Oh, I think we're doing it differently. I think we're on a different game plan, and I think that we've demonstrated over the last decade or so, not only is it important to build a great basic bookkeeping platform, as well as the ecosystem around that, but I think we're playing a bigger game here. I think, as I said in my talk, we're at the beginning. Making Tax Digital seems like this kind of software change, and you've got to upgrade from that version to that version, and then you're ready for digital tax. But I think Making Tax Digital isn't just that 2-year project. I think it's the beginning of a whole new generation and era where, having gone from paper to then online filing and now to full API-based digital filing, I think we're pretty confident that we'll see an explosion in compliance and the necessity around compliance, because there will be many more businesses running and setting up and managing a business. We think in the next decade will be much easier than it has been, and the job of the accountant in the background managing that compliance will become much more digital as well. And we're placing a bet on the fact that if there are maybe 6 million businesses in the UK today, and if you project that growth to continue as it has for the last 20 years, then maybe in another 20 years there will be 10 million. We think actually it will be a lot more than that. We think running and starting and managing a business will be just like adding a project code in your accounting software in 10 years. And so we see the role of compliance, which has kind of taken maybe a bit of a back seat in the last while, and partly due to the work that we've been doing and unlocking the advisory capability in cloud platforms. And we wouldn't be the people that came up with this concept, but I know the industry has been wrestling with, is compliance dead? Is advisory the new compliance from a services point of view? And I think we're placing a bet that accounting isn't going away. We are an accounting platform. We're not moving away from that. Others may be. They're welcome to it. But we think that compliance will become increasingly much more important, and so I think we see the world quite differently.
And you referenced Making Tax Digital there. You also had an announcement around that today.
That's correct, yes. So today we launched the full public beta of our Making Tax Digital VAT capability, which we've been working on. We've made great progress. So we've been ready for a while now, and it's been in private beta with a few of our partners and a few of our customers, and people are already filing their VAT returns through the new MTD APIs that are available. And so today we've announced that we're opening it up for public beta, and we'll be inviting our customers to start testing it out and trying it on for size. And as well as making Xero now fully ready for Making Tax Digital, we've completely kind of re-engineered the whole VAT experience. So we've brought in a lot more improvements to just make running VAT and doing VAT returns and managing adjustments and user permissions. And we've rebuilt all of that. And so we've had rave reviews from people that have been playing with it.
Fantastic. And I guess that with corporation tax, income tax, but potentially coming in 2020 for the government's digital tax regime, your news around Instafile couldn't come at a better time for you.
Yeah, it's almost like we've planned it.
Indeed. You also had some announcements, I think you referenced them earlier, around open banking. Can you tell us more about that?
I mean, so one of the things that we did at the beginning, which turned out to be a really good call actually, was to build a completely open API. So anybody could plug into Xero and securely get information in or information out. And that's given birth to what started off as like 5 apps, and then 20 apps and 50 apps. And I think the next milestone will be 800. There's a whole spectrum of apps that have been built around the API. And now that we're in this world of open banking and the disruption and opportunity to innovate in financial services, and banking is now here because of that, we thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could actually repeat the success we've had with the core API in Xero, but in a financial services context? And so we're really pleased to also launch today our Bank Feeds API, which we think could have the same impact in terms of bringing new products and services and innovations to our customers as the core API did in Xero. And so we announced the first few cabs off the rank today. So as I mentioned earlier, people like TransferWise and Starling and Tide and Revolut, really important partners to us in the UK. And that new Feeds API approach has enabled us to build that much more quickly. So we think we might see a bit of an explosion in new products and services and integrations, all for the benefit of our customers in the next couple of years.
Fantastic. And finally, you also had the launch of a new campaign today. So we referenced Making Tax Digital earlier. You unveiled Dexter today. Can you tell us a bit more about him?
Yeah, Dexter, the digital tax inspector. And we were playing about with different ideas about so we've built the product. How do we tell businesses about making tax digital? And of course, it's a concern that many of the members on AccountingWEB have been voicing over the last few months about, well, nobody knows anything about this. Yeah. I mean, this deadline's coming and the software's not ready and SMBs don't know it's coming. This is going to be a disaster. Well, good news, the software's ready, at least from Xero. And we also have an obligation to help with the awareness as well. And that's obviously in our interest. And so we thought of a couple of ideas, and we took great inspiration from the old Inland Revenue campaign that they launched with
was it Hector, wasn't it? Yeah.
Hector, the tax inspector, about 20 years ago. And so we played around with a few ideas about how could we kind of reinvent that whole idea of somebody not necessarily hectoring people into making a change, but and so we came up with something that was really fun, pretty cheesy. But tax is a pretty dry subject, and so we hope that will be a successful campaign, and we previewed what that might look like today. Yeah,
it's quite interesting. The HMRC have obviously, with the whole Making Tax Digital project, talked about we're not building any software, we're leaving it to the private sector, and it kind of seems like they're leaving the big campaigns to...
Well, I'm sure they'll do some stuff of their own. But clearly, we've got a part to play there, and we're very happy to do that.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for your time, Gary. Really appreciate it. For coverage from Xerocon, we're on accountingweb.co.uk, and you can follow on the hashtag Xerocon18. Thank you very much for joining us, and goodbye.